Today we're checking out some of Jurassic World's best carnivore figures and arranging them from biggest all the way to the smallest. Plus, I've got some new ones that we're gonna check out as well. The first and largest figure is this super colossal Carnivores Toro figure. It has the dark orange body with the brown coloring on top, tons of little spikes, and the huge horns on its head. Next up in size is this super colossal Velociraptor blue figure. This figure features the classic blue stripe down the side, and it has fully posable arms, legs, and a jaw too. Next up in size is another Velociraptor blue figure, but this one is a bit different. This figure is battery operated, so let's see what happens when we turn it on. That is pretty cool. It blinks and its eyes move, and it even has sound effects. Moving on to the next in size, let's go with this custom colored Spinosaurus figure. This figure features way more intricate and cool coloring than the original Mattel figure featured. It features posable arms, legs, and a tail, and even the neck and the jaw. Let's set this figure down next to the robotic Velociraptor blue figure. Next up, why don't we go with this Terran T-Rex figure. This T-Rex has some of the classic brown and tan coloring, and best of all, it features an awesome tearing feature when you press the button on its back. Look at that jaw-chomping action. And we're gonna set this down as the next biggest dinosaur in this carnivore collection. Over here is another Terran T-Rex, but this one was actually custom colored. Let's set them down side by side so we can see the color differences. This one is a lot darker, and it actually has a lot more battle damage painted all over its body. And look at that, even some more battle damage on the other side. That is really cool. Let's set this down next in line. For the next in size, we're gonna go with this camouflage T-Rex figure. This is one of my favorite custom colored dinosaurs because of this really cool green camo color that has all over its body. And this figure has a chomping action when you move its tail, and a roaring action too. This figure is super cool, so let's set this as the next biggest dinosaur. For the next biggest carnivore figure, we're gonna go with this Camp Cretaceous Epic Roarin' T-Rex. This figure has the classic tan body, and it features a button on its tail for a roaring and chomping action. This one is definitely cool, so let's set this down next in size. Looks like we've got a few more T-Rex figures in here. Here is another green T-Rex, but this one isn't custom colored. This is actually how it came. It's got some black detailing along the top of its head, and it has a button on the top of its head for the chomping and roaring action. Plus, its arms and legs and tail and neck are fully posable, just like many of these other T-Rex figures. Alright, here might be one of my last T-Rex figures in this carnivore collection. This one is the classic bright orange, and it features opposable arms, legs, tail, neck, and jaw too. Why don't we dig into this one next? This is part of the new Epic Attack series from Jurassic World. This is the battle-chomping Carnivores. And here it is. It looks like it has 3 different action buttons on this Carnivores figure. The first 2 are light and sound effect buttons that you can push for different sounds. So depending on how many times you press these buttons, it has different sound effects. And the third button is a classic chomping action button. The color and texturing design is pretty similar to the older Carnivores figures. It's mostly that clay red orange color. It has some brown detailing throughout, and of course it's got the bright yellow eyes. Overall, this figure is pretty cool. I love the fact that there are different sound effects and different battle damage buttons. Alright, let's set this next in line as the next largest carnivore figure. Over here, we've got the Scorpius Rex figure from Camp Cretaceous. And it has 2 action buttons on its back. The first operates the jaw with the sound effects. And the second button on its back activates the claws for a slashing action. That is pretty cool, and it is quite a large figure. And it is the next in size. For our next one, let's grab this classic Indoraptor figure. This is the Grab and Growl Indoraptor, and it is pretty hard to find online nowadays. I don't think they're making this one anymore. It's got 1 button on the top of its tail for the claw slashing action, and another button on the bottom of its tail for a jaw chomping action. All right, this figure is pretty awesome. So let's set this next in line as the next biggest. Over here, I've got another Carnivores figure, but this one is quite a bit older. I think this one came out for the second Jurassic World movie, which was Fallen Kingdom. As you can see, they're a slightly different red color, and this figure is a little bit smaller than that one as well. But it still has one button on its back for the chomping action. Very cool. All right, let's set this down. This next figure is really long, but it's actually a little bit shorter than the Carnivores figure, which is why it's next in line. This, I believe, was called the Ocean Protector Mosasaurus figure. You can move all of its fins, and its jaw opens and closes too. All right, let's keep going. Let's go with this Jurassic Park juvenile T-Rex figure. This figure is quite old. You can see the JP tattoo on its leg. It's got some battle damage on its side as well. Let's set this one down next in line. For the next figure, why don't we go with another old figure? This is from Jurassic Park 3, and I believe this dinosaur is a velociraptor. And it used to be battery operated, but sadly it doesn't work anymore. But it's still a really cool figure, so let's set this down next to the T-Rex. Up next for scary carnivores, we've got a Suchomimus figure. This version is the dark blue with the yellow spine, and it has one button on its back for the chomping action. And let's set this down next in line right here. For the next in size, let's see, I think we should go with the Sound Surge dinosaurs. This first one is the Giganotosaurus Sound Surge. Let's check out those sound effects. Very cool. Let's set this down next to the Suchomimus. The other Sound Surge dinosaur in this carnivore collection is the Sound Surge Tyrannosaurus Rex. Now let's hear the sound effects for this figure. And we're gonna set it down right next to the Sound Surge Giganotosaurus. Next up is this Rowdy Roars Carnotaurus figure. It is the classic clay red and orange coloring with the brown on top. It's got a little battle damage on its nose too. Compared to the Epic Attack figure, this one is a whole lot smaller and is a little bit brighter, and of course has much larger eyes. All right, let's set this down next to the T-Rex. The next in size is this Cryolophosaurus figure. This version has the dark blue body with the white and orange on the top. And this figure comes with sound effects, and when you move the tail, it controls the head. All right, let's set this down next to the Carnotaurus. Up next, we've got a Baryonyx figure. I think this one might be a Camp Cretaceous Baryonyx. And it's got the slide lever action on its back for different roars and sound effects. So let's set this up next in line. I've also got a custom Hammond Collection Spinosaurus figure. It has the red running along its back and on its face, and it's got the blue, brown, and red spine, which is actually pretty similar to this other custom colored Spinosaurus figure that I have in the front. So we're gonna set this one down next in line. Over here is the Hammond Collection Baryonyx figure. It's got pretty similar coloring as this Camp Cretaceous Baryonyx figure right here. It's even got a little bit of that reflective blue coloring on its face. And let's set this one down right at the very end right here. Next up is not a dinosaur, but is actually an Owen figure from Jurassic World. This figure has the classic brown vest with the blue shirt underneath. And we're running out of room at the end of the table, so I'm gonna start a new line right up here in front. For the next in size is this Dilophosaurus figure. I believe this Dilophosaurus came out for the first Jurassic World movie and is not made by Mattel, but actually I think it's made by Hasbro. And it even has an action that when you press down on its tail, it moves its neck up and down. Let's go ahead and grab this little Velociraptor blue figure. Now this figure is actually motorized, so when you press the top of its head, it comes with sound effects and chomping motions. And now we finally get to open this other new figure. This is the Epic Attack Dilophosaurus figure. Now it looks like this Dilophosaurus figure has one button on its side, and it looks like it is for the sound effects and light. And I think it actually comes with a few different sound effects too. Let's press it again. That's pretty cool. It's like a strobing light when you press it. It looks like its legs and arms are posable, and you can open and close its mouth manually, but sadly you can't move the frills at all, so you can't bring them forward, which is a bit of a bummer if you ask me, but it is a pretty cool design. So let's set this Dilophosaurus down next to Velociraptor Blue. All right, we've only got a few small figures left. I've got 2 Atrociraptor figures right here. This first Atrociraptor is in the classic white and tan coloring, and this other Atrociraptor figure that I bought more recently is brighter colored. It's got some red on its arms, its neck, and its chin. And we're gonna set these 2 up next in line. Over here, I've got another Dilophosaurus figure, quite a bit smaller. They're both green and they have some yellow, orange, and red detailing along their frills. But this figure is actually pretty cool because you can press on the tail to activate its frills. That is really cool. Up next is another Velociraptor figure, but this is a slashing Velociraptor. That means that its torso is actually spring-loaded, so you can swing it side to side for a slashing action. And let's put this one right here. I've got another raptor over here. This one is a Pyroraptor figure from Jurassic World Dominion. It's got the feathers all over its body and the especially large feathers on the top of its head. And let's set this raptor down next in line. And now we're on to the really small figures over here. First up is a Baryonyx with the dark brown and blue coloring. And you can open and close its jaw too. Next up is a stalking Endoraptor figure with the gold stripe running down its side. Up next is a teeny tiny Mosasaurus figure. Look how small it is in comparison to this giant figure right there. But you can still open and close its mouth, which is pretty cool. And finally, I've got a tiny Pteranodon figure with some brown detailing on its wings, on its back, and on its horn. Today we're checking out a giant bin full of T-Rexes, Indominus Rexes, Giganotosauruses, Spinosauruses, and I've even got some brand new ginormous ones that we're gonna open up as well. Let's get started with these Spinosauruses since they're right on the top. This first one is a custom colored Spinosaurus. I think it was originally a Camp Cretaceous version of the Spinosaurus, but now it has even cooler coloring all over its body. And my favorite part are those evil green eyes. Those look so cool. This next Spinosaurus is the original Camp Cretaceous Spinosaurus with the red spine and the red face. It's got the huge front arms and the even bigger back legs and a tail that is adjustable as well. Let's check out some of these biggest T-Rex figures in the bin next. This first one is an orange Battle Damage Edition T-Rex. You can see the slashes all over its body, even on its tail, and some on its face as well. And like many of the classic T-Rex figures, you can use the button on its head to open its jaw. This next T-Rex is a Terran T-Rex. It's got the gray body with the brown top, and the biggest feature is when you press this button on its back, it does a tearing action with its jaw. Check that out. It closes its mouth and it swings its neck away at the same time. Plus there's a second action button on its back to activate the tail, which has 2 joints, which is really cool. And this T-Rex right here is an extreme battle damage T-Rex. It's got some cool coloring all over its body, but the biggest feature is the battle damage that you can activate by pressing the button. Check that out. So you can turn it on and off on both sides of its body. Plus, the rest of its body is fully posable as well. It's got the tiny little arms and these huge back legs. Next up are some huge Indominus Rex figures. This first one is the classic, I believe it's the Camp Cretaceous Indominus Rex. It has 2 action buttons. The first activates its claws, and the second on its tail activates its jaw. Plus there's quite a bit of detailing all over its body as well. Check out all those little bumps and spikes, and those super long spikes right on its neck too. And I love the shading on its face. It's really cool. This next Indominus Rex is custom colored. It is super bright and unlike anything that you might see in the movies. It's got some blue, it's got purple, orange, and black. Still has the same awesome texturing and detailing all over its bodies, and the same action buttons, one to activate the claws, and one to activate the jaws too. And the best part are the lime green eyes. Right over here, we've got an extreme battle damage Indominus Rex. This figure still has the action button on its tail to open and close the jaw. This one has sound effects, but the action button on its back actually activates the battle damage, just like the T-Rex that we saw. That's not working too well right now. There we go, it took a minute, so I think something's a little bit wrong with the internal system, but you can see that there's red that's showing through the battle damage now. Here we've got an older Indominus Rex. I believe this one is from the first Jurassic World movie, so it's quite a bit different. You'll see that the front is entirely rubberized. Even the teeth are made out of rubber. You can use the arm to open and close the jaw. And the rest of its body is a hard plastic, so it's pretty interesting. And you can move the back legs as well. Let's check out these Giganotosaurus figures. This first one is ginormous and it has two actions. The first is activated by a button on its back that swings its entire torso around. And there's a button on the bottom of its tail to operate just the jaw alone. Plus, this figure has some pretty cool detailing as well. And of course, the iconic huge spine going all the way up its back. Before we go any further with the bin, let's check out this huge brand new one. This is the Jurassic World Giga Dinosaur by Imaginext. All right, here is the fully assembled huge Giganotosaurus. This one is a lot larger than many of the figures I have, plus it has some extra features as well. You can move the head up and down, you can twist its neck around, so it's pretty adjustable. Plus, when you roll it back and forth, it actually moves its legs, so it looks like it's stomping. Plus, it has some sound effects too. And the coolest part is that you can press a button on its tail to open up its jaw and light up its eyes too. And in addition to that, you can also pick it up right here and it'll make a huge roaring sound effect. This figure is ginormous and it even comes with this little tiny character too. And next up, we got another Imaginext thrashing Indominus Rex figure. Let's open it up. All right, here's the figure. It's around the same size as many of the Mattel Jurassic World figures, but it looks totally different. It's got some blue spikes on its back. It's got these huge orange eyes as well. And you can actually use the tail on this figure to swivel its head all the way around. It's a really unique movement. Let's check out the rest of the bin. This is a Giganotosaurus figure, not made by Mattel. I can't remember the brand that made this one, but it is super detailed and quite a bit different looking compared to Mattel. Check out all those teeth. They're actually even a little bit sharp. It's also got the green eyes as well. You can't move the rest of its body, but it has some pretty amazing detailing and coloring too. Right over here is another Giganotosaurus figure. This one is from Mattel and is the Sound Surge edition. It's got a button on its back right here to activate the sound effects. Next up is another Spinosaurus figure. This one has a darker skin than many of the Spinosaurus figures that I have. Still got the red spine, and you can open and close its mouth too. Here is a model Indominus Rex figure, so it looks quite a bit different than what Mattel has released, but it's still got all the spikes along its back. It's got some evil looking eyes and teeth as well. And of course you can open and close the jaw, but the rest of the body parts cannot move. Up next, we've got an old Jurassic World T-Rex. This one is actually custom colored with the red, the black, and the green underbelly, and there's an action button on its back to open and close its jaw. Over here, we've got the Funko Pop Jurassic World Dominion T-Rex with the brown body, the all black eyes, and all those teeth. Check out this model T-Rex figure. It's got a dark green body with the black striping, so it probably would blend into the jungle pretty well, and it's got tons of teeth. And on this model figure, you can open and close the jaw too. Over here is an old Indominus Rex figure from Jurassic World. It's got the battle damage on the side that you can open and close, and you can use the tail for a chomping action. And this is an even smaller Indominus Rex from Jurassic World, also an older figure. It's got some battle damage on its side. You can't open or close it, but you can still use the tail to open and close the mouth. Here's another model Spinosaurus figure. This one is a lighter color. It's got some gray with black splotches everywhere. You can kind of tell that there is a green stripe right along its spine. And just like the other model figures, you can open and close the mouth. Here is the Rowdy Roars Indominus Rex figure. It's got these super big back legs, the tiny front legs, a little itty bitty tail that actually controls the jaw, and when you press down on the tongue, it snaps its jaw shut. Here is the Funko Pop Jurassic World Dominion Giganotosaurus figure. It has similar coloring as the Mattel figures. It's got some all yellow eyes, huge teeth, and of course the big spine all the way down its back too. Here's an old Jurassic World Spinosaurus figure, and this is actually a special one because it's colored so brightly. It's got the blue and the red with the black striping right along its spine. And you can use the tail to operate the mouth too. Right over here is a basic Spinosaurus figure from Mattel. It's got the green body with the red spine, and you can move the arms and the legs and the tail as well. I've got another Jurassic World Spinosaurus figure. This one is really small, but it's got a bright yellow and orange spine, and you can press down on the head to open and close its mouth. Over here is a tiny T-Rex figure from Jurassic World. It's got the battle damage on its side, and you can use the tail to open and close the mouth. And here is another model Spinosaurus, but I believe this one is a juvenile Spinosaurus because it's a lot smaller and just looks a bit younger, but you can still open and close its jaw. Today we're checking out a huge Jurassic World Predator versus Predator collection where I'll be comparing many of these dinosaurs side by side. Plus, I've got a new Jurassic World dino trackers that we'll be checking out as well. But let's get started with this Scorpius Rex and this Seops Microrarum. This Scorpius Rex figure is quite a bit larger than many of the Jurassic World figures I have. It has these huge claws on its hands, comes with sound effects and the 2 action buttons on its back. Plus those huge poisonous quills as well. And let's check out the Seops Microrarum. It's got an orange body with some brighter coloring. It's got a bunch of spikes running along the top of its head, and you can use its tail to move its head back and forth and to chomp its jaw as well. Next up, we've got the giant T-Rex figure and an Endoraptor figure. This T-Rex figure is actually a bit older. It's got a rubbery neck and the rubbery tail. This figure has a huge chomping action. When you lift up its head, it roars, and then when you lift its tail, it chomps down with some sound effects too. And this Endoraptor figure is pretty awesome as well. It's a bit bigger than many of the Endoraptor figures I have, and it has a really cool feature where you can move the tail to twist its torso around, move its neck, and there's even buttons to control its arms and its jaw as well. And check it out, even its eyes light up too. Next up, we've got another T-Rex, but this one is a green color versus a Carnivores figure. The T-Rex is a bit bigger, and it has some cool black detailing right along the top. Plus, you can adjust the neck to look in all sorts of directions and use the button at the top of its head to open and close its jaw too. And the Carnivores over here, although it's a little bit smaller, it has some pretty awesome detailing as well. It comes in the dark brown color, it has the gray underbelly, and it has a tail that moves its head side to side and up and down, and opens and closes its jaws too. Next up in Predator versus Predator, we've got a Suchomimus, and right over here we've got the Irritator. The The Suchomimus is a little bit larger and it has blue and yellow coloring along its body. It's got a huge spine running down all the way down its tail, and it has an action button to chomp its really long and narrow snout. And let's check out this Irritator dinosaur as well, which actually looks somewhat similar as the Suchomimus. They've both got tall spines running along their back and long, narrow snouts too. You can open and close the mouth manually, and you can actually use the tail to move its head around too. Down here, we've got an Albertosaurus versus a Rajasaurus. The Albertosaurus here has some extreme battle damage on its side that you can close. See its ribs that you can open and close, and you can close its skin entirely. Plus, the rest of its body is very adjustable as well. You can even move the neck around to look in all different directions too. And the Rajasaurus is an entirely different color and a little bit smaller than the Albertosaurus. It's got dark blue and some white. It's got some huge spikes running along the top of its head, and it has an action that when you press down on its back, it chomps. Here we've got two T-Rexes from different eras of Jurassic World. This first one is more recent. It's from Jurassic World Dominion, and this is an older one. I think it's from Camp Cretaceous, actually. Comparing the size, I think the Camp Cretaceous one is a little bit larger. This one is really cool because you can use the tail to move the head up and down and open and close the jaw too. And the Jurassic World Dominion T-Rex, although a little bit smaller, has some really cool coloring. It's like a darker brown-orange color. Plus, it has the extreme battle damage right on the side that you can turn on and off with the click of a button. Here are some winged dinosaurs. This one right here is a Quetzalcoatlus, and this orange one is a Pteranodon. The Pteranodon is a lot more simple in color. It's mostly this brown-orange clay coloring. It has some yellow detailing on the wings, and you can open and close the mouth manually as well. The Quetzalcoatlus is a bit more of a sophisticated toy. You can actually fold the wings closed all the way, and there's action buttons on its back to flap the wings and to chomp its jaw as well. Plus, it's got some really cool coloring as well. And I think that the Quetzalcoatluses are much larger than Pteranodons in real life. We've got a huge dinosaur figure right here, and also a smaller one right on top of it. This huge one is a Mosasaurus, and this smaller one is a Sarcosuchus dinosaur. This huge Mosasaurus figure is an ocean dinosaur, so you'll see this in the water. I'm sure you recognize it from the first Jurassic World movie. And it's probably 2 or 3 feet long from the tip of its mouth all the way to the tail. And you can adjust all the fins and open and close its mouth. Now, this Sarcosuchus figure is a lot smaller, and it may not have lived entirely in the water, but I believe that these dinosaurs lived by the water and might have even hunted in it as well. It's got this super long and narrow snout, and it looks a lot like an alligator in a way. It looks like it has some armor plating all along its back too, and you can use the tail to open and close the jaw. Next up, why don't we open up this Jurassic World Dino Tractors? I believe it's pronounced Dryptosaurus or Dryptosaurus. It's looking pretty cool. Let's open it up. This Dryptosaurus figure is pretty cool, and it's around the same size as many of my Baryonyx figures. It's got some green that runs along from its arms, down its back, all the way to its tail, where it's got a ton of really interesting spikes, and it's got some dark brown from its feet that trails up all the way on its back, all the way to its head, where it has some dark blue right along its mouth as well. And let's see what else. You can move the arms up and down and outwards. You can twist the tail and move the legs too. There is the barcode scanner right there on its back that you can open and close. And it's got an action button right here on its back. It's a pretty small one, but you actually push it side to side and it rotates its head for different sound effects and for chomping too. And let's compare it against a Velociraptor from the Amber collection. This Velociraptor is bright green, it's got the striping along its back, and like many of the Amber collection figures, is super posable and adjustable as well. These figures are really cool. Next up is a Baryonyx versus a Cryolophosaurus figure. They're about the same size. I think the Cryolophosaurus is a little bit bigger and heavier. This dinosaur is pretty muscular. Look at those huge legs. It's got a huge torso as well, and it's got some really cool crown embellishment on the top of its head. And best of all, you can use the tail to move the head around in a really lifelike way. Let's compare that to the Baryonyx figure, a little bit thinner. It's probably a faster runner. It's got some smaller legs and arms. It's got a variety of different colors along its body, and it's got the slide lever action for different chomping movements. Here is a Ceratosaurus versus what I believe is a Yangchuanosaurus. They're about the same in size. I think the Ceratosaurus is a little bit bigger. The Yangchuanosaurus has a really long neck though. Let's check out the Ceratosaurus. It's got some different tones of brown. It's also got that bright red as usual, an action button on its back to open and close its jaw, and you can move its arms and its legs and its tail as well. The Yangchuanosaurus figure is totally different in color. It's green, yellow, and blue, and on this figure you can use the tail to move the head around. Sounds like the sound effects are a little bit broken though. This figure has even smaller front arms. I think those might be even smaller than a T-Rex's front arms, and definitely smaller than a Ceratosaurus's front arms as well. Over here we've got another Amber Collection Velociraptor figure versus a Baryonyx figure. The Baryonyx is a little bit larger than the Velociraptor figure. It has a longer neck and maybe a longer tail, I think. And it's got an action button on its back that you can use to open and close the jaw. Check out that super bright orange detailing right on the top of its head too. And it's got a long and a narrow snout. The Velociraptor, on the other hand, doesn't have quite as long of a mouth, and it's a bit more wide. Its eyes are a lot larger, and since this is from the Amber Collection, it is very posable and adjustable too. Way more posable than that Baryonyx figure. This is a Carcharodontosaurus figure versus a smaller Indominus Rex figurine. Carcharodontosaurus is definitely a lot larger. It's got some bright yellow, orange, and brown coloring. It's got striping all the way down its neck and its back, and it's got a huge action button on its back for chomping. Look at that huge chomping action all the way down, and it's so fast you can hardly see it. This Indominus Rex figure is a bit older and a bit smaller. It's got the classic gray detailing with a bit more green gray coloring along the top, and this has some extreme battle damage on the side that you can open and close, which is really cool. And with this figure, you can move the legs and the arms, and you can use the tail to chomp the head. These are our last two dinosaurs of the bin. We've got another Ceratosaurus. This one is from the Hammond Collection versus a huge Velociraptor blue figure. The Ceratosaurus figure is a lot bigger in size in terms of its torso. Look at this difference between this skinny Velociraptor and this huge Ceratosaurus figure. And since this is a basic Velociraptor blue figure, there's not a ton of detailing and you can only move the arms and legs. But with the Ceratosaurus, since it's from the Hammond Collection, has a lot more awesome detailing and coloring, and you can adjust the arms, the legs, the tail, and the head in all sorts of different poses. Today, we're going to be taking all of my Jurassic World Dominion figures and we're going to be putting them from biggest over here all the way to smallest down here. This figure right here is the largest Dominion figure that I have. This is the Dreadnoughtus figure, and it is super long. It's probably 3 or 4 feet in length, but it still has some really cool features. You can even open and close the mouth, and twists the head around too. So let's put this dinosaur on the very far left as the biggest dinosaur. Let's see, what super colossal figure is next? It's a tough call, but I think the Giganotosaurus might be the next largest. This figure is huge, has a classic green coloring, the awesome super sharp spine, and the really cool teeth. These are pretty unique. Let's set this super colossal Giganotosaurus down right next to the Dreadnoughtus figure. These are our two largest figures. Next up has got to be our super colossal T-Rex with the new brown and black coloring. You won't see this on older Jurassic World figurines. This one is super cool. Let's put this right next to our giant Giganotosaurus figure. Next is this awesome Atrociraptor figure. This one is the white with two different tones of brown striping along its back and sides. And unlike the other super colossal figures we've seen so far, the teeth are actually fully inside the mouth compared to the other figures we've seen so far where the teeth are on kind of like the outside of the mouth. All right, there we go. Let's move on to the next biggest, which is this tall Brachiosaurus figure from Jurassic World Dominion. Let me stand it up. Now this dinosaur is a lot taller than these other dinosaurs right here, but its body is a bit smaller and it's just shorter in size overall. So that's why I'm putting it over here. But it's got some pretty cool detailing, the blue coloring around its head. And next up in size is this giant Apatosaurus figure. Check out the size difference between this one and the Brachiosaurus over here. It's a little bit shorter, it's still standing on all four legs, and it has a really long neck, but instead of going up super tall like that one, this one kind of sticks out forwards more. All right, now we're moving on to our slightly smaller figurines. We're gonna start with this T-Rex, which has the identical coloring as the super colossal figure right over there. This is a really cool T-Rex. I like the features on this one, and this one has a ginormous head compared to older Jurassic World T-Rexes. Right over here, we've got the Hammond Collection Tyrannosaurus Rex figure. This one has some really cool orange-brown coloring. It has a lot more detail than many of the other Jurassic World T-Rexes. It even has marbled eyes. Check out all that texture. And these figures are super posable too, which is an awesome feature. Next, we've got this Thrashing Giganotosaurus figure in the same coloring as the super colossal figure over here. They look pretty similar. This one's quite a bit smaller, although it's still probably around a foot in length from tail to head. So let's set this down right next to the T-Rex figure. All right, what do we go with next here? I think next is this Allosaurus figure. This figure is a little bit smaller than the T-Rexes and the Giganotosaurus figure here, but it is a lot larger than a lot of my other Allosaurus figures. Plus, it has a battle damage feature right on its side that you can open and close. Let's get this standing right next to the Giganotosaurus. The next up in size is the Therizinosaurus figurine, which was really cool in the Dominion movie. So we're gonna set this down right next to the Allosaurus figure. And check out those huge claws on its hand and the really long neck with the big face at the very top. We've got another herbivore dinosaur next in size here. This is the Stegosaurus with some pretty cool coloring. It's got the brown, some lighter tan, green, and then the clay red at the very top. All right, let's set it down next to the Therizinosaurus. Look at those spikes. They're a little bit taller than the Therizinosaurus, although if this was standing up all the way, it would definitely be a lot taller. Here is the Yangchuanosaurus figure. This, I don't think, was in the new Jurassic World Dominion movie, but it came out as part of the toy line. It's got some really cool coloring. It's got an action that lets you move the neck around in a lifelike way. And you know what? I think it is actually a little bit bigger than the Stegosaurus. So let's shift the Stegosaurus over and put this dinosaur right there. Next is a really interesting looking dinosaur. This is the Ankylosaurus. It's got the clay red coloring with the brown top, a super long neck, and it stands on 4 legs. Let's put this right next to the Stegosaurus figure. I can't quite tell which one is the next largest, but I'm gonna go with the Rajasaurus figure in the blue and gray coloring. And it's got that cool little spike right at the top of its head. Now let's set it right next to the Ankylosaurus. Let's see if it stands up. I think its legs are kind of broken, so that'll have to do. Here is the Sound Surge Giganotosaurus figure. Once again, it has pretty similar coloring as the super colossal figure right here, and this one comes with sound effects as well. It's pretty cool, so let's set this right next to the Rajasaurus figure. The next in size, I think, is this Pyroraptor figurine. This is the basic edition, but it still has the cool fiery red coloring and the black on its tail, on its legs, and a little bit on its head too. Let's set him down right here. And very close in size to the Pyroraptor is this basic Atrociraptor figure in the same coloring as the super colossal figure that we have back here. So let's go down all the way to the end and set him on the table. All right, now the figures are getting a little bit smaller. I think next up is the Megaraptor figure in the bright red and blue and a little bit of tan right along its face. And this figure is cool because it actually has an action when you press down on its back. It has a chomping action. Here is, I believe it's pronounced the Dryptosaurus. And a cool new feature that Mattel is putting on these toys is this little slide. It's like a thing that swings back and forth, and it actually swings their head back and forth and opens their mouth too, which is pretty cool. Now let's set it down right next to the Megaraptor. Next is the Hammond Collection Baryonyx figure. This one comes in the gray, dark blue with the yellow striping. And like all the Hammond Collection figures, is super posable and really cool. Let's put this down right at the end. Here we've got another Hammond Collection figurine. This is the Parasaurolophus. It's got some pretty bright coloring and of course is super posable and adjustable as well. Next is the bright Ichthyovenator. It looks kind of like a Spinosaurus because it has the big spine on its back and a long and narrow snout, but it has a super bright and much larger tail and is a lot smaller than a Spinosaurus, I think. So let's go ahead and put this down right next to the Parasaurolophus. Here we've got a huge Sinoceratops figurine with some bright yellow coloring around its all black eyes and the yellow coloring right on its tail as well. And like many of these other figures, it has the action that when you press down on its back, it lifts up its head. Let's see, next up in size is this Triceratops figure in the green and brown coloring. Let's put this at the very end. Oh, you know what? It looks like we're out of space at the very end though. So let's create a new row in the front, right up here. We've got another Triceratops figure next, but this one is from the Hammond Collection. So compared to this other Triceratops figure right here, you can see that this one has a lot more detailing and differencing in the color, because this one basically has two different colors. This one kind of fades into all sorts of other different colors. And of course, is a lot more posable as well. Next up is the Iguanodon figurine in the tan and darker brown on top with the striping. Let's set down this Iguanodon right next to the Triceratops. Now we're down to the really small ones. So let's start with this brand new one that I bought. This is the Geniodectes Cirrus dinosaur. All right, this dinosaur is pretty brightly colored. It's got a dark gray body, but then it has this super bright coloring along its leg, its neck, its face, and the super bright red on top. And this is the Extreme Battle Damage edition, so you can click it open and closed with that button on the top. All right, let's put this Geniodectes down right next to the Iguanodon. We've got a few more Extreme Battle Damage dinosaurs right here that are the same size. This first one is a Velociraptor, and I've also got an Atrociraptor figure. And they both have that button on the top that activates the battle damage on both sides of its body. Let's set these down next in line. I've got a couple more Atrociraptor figures right here. These are the non-battle damage versions. I've got an orange one with the tan striping, and then of course the white with brown striping, just like the giant super colossal version. Let's get this first Atrociraptor down, and the second one. Here is another Pyroraptor. This is a pretty small figure, and this one actually has the extreme battle damage on the side as well. Check that out, it's pretty cool. It's got the same classic red and black coloring along its body. And let's set it down right next to the white Atrociraptor. This next figure, I believe, is called the Moros Intrepidus. It's got some pretty unique green and orange coloring. It's got the light green eyes, some pretty cool feathering and detailing all over its body. And let's set it down as the next smallest dinosaur. All right, now we're getting down to the real small dinosaurs. These are both Dimetrodons, and their spines make them look really tall, but actually their bodies are really short. This first brown Dimetrodon is a normal one, doesn't have any special features, so we'll put that next in line. But this other Dimetrodon actually has battle damage on the side, like many of these other small figures, which is pretty cool. So let's set that down right there. And here are our last two dinosaurs. We've got a Miragaia dinosaur with the huge spikes on the side, and we've also got a Therizinosaurus figure, which is really small, but still has the giant claws and the classic coloring. All right, let's set these down. Looks like we have just enough space. Welcome to Amazing Dinosaurs. Today I'm showing you this entire Jurassic World quadrupedal dinosaur collection and ranging them from biggest on the table all the way to the smallest. And we're gonna start with the biggest figures over here. I think the largest one is this Jurassic World Dominion Brachiosaurus figure. This Dominion version has an updated paint design on its back and on its neck and the reflective blue on its head. And since it's the biggest, we're gonna place this on the furthest left and go for the next biggest, which I think is this giant Dreadnoughtus figure. Now this figure is seriously ridiculously long. It's probably maybe even 4 feet long from the tip of its head all the way to the tail, and has a pretty cool blue and orange paint design too. So let's grab this and put this next in line as the next largest dinosaur right here. And we're gonna grab the next giant figure, which is a Jurassic World Apatosaurus figure. Now this figure is still pretty long compared to a lot of these smaller figures, but compared to the Dreadnoughtus figure right next to it, see how much longer its neck is? It is definitely a whole lot smaller. Now that we've got the 3 biggest set up, let's go for the next biggest one, which I think is this Brachiosaurus figure right here. This figure is a whole lot smaller than these giant ones right here, but it's still a pretty good size. It's probably a foot tall. It has some really cool coloring and texturing too. So let's set this next in line as the next largest quadrupedal dinosaur and move on to the next one, which I think is this dinosaur right here. This is an Amargosaurus dinosaur from Jurassic World. It's pretty unique because it has these 2 giant frills going down all the way from its neck to its tail. And it has 2 action buttons. One swings its neck up and down, and the second swings its tail back and forth. We've got a lot of long-necked quadrupedal dinosaurs in here so far. The next in size, I think, might be this one, and this is a brand new one that I bought. This is the Jurassic Park 30th anniversary Cretaceous figure. And here it is out of the box, and it is quite a sizable figure. This, of course, is from the Hammond collection. I don't know that I have another Cretaceous figure in my collection, so this is pretty neat. It's got some yellow, gray, black, and it's got a real big crown on the top of its head. And of course, it is very adjustable, as many of the Hammond collection figures are. So let's get this next in line. The next quadrupedal dinosaur for this collection is this gray and blue Stegosaurus figure. This is a classic figure made by Mattel for Jurassic World, and it's got a single hidden action button on its back to swing the tail back and forth. And we'll set it down next in line. For the next one, we're gonna go with another Stegosaurus figure. This Jurassic World figure looks pretty identical in shape and size to this gray-blue Stegosaurus, but of course it has totally different coloring, and it has a totally different action button as well. You can press on these 2 spines right here, and it'll swing its entire torso back and forth. That's pretty cool, and I do think I like it better than the action button on this one. Next up, I've got a vintage figure from Jurassic Park. This is the Triceratops figure, numbered JP08. And like many of the figures from the Jurassic Park era, it has the real feel skin, so instead of a hard plastic, like many of the new Jurassic World figures, it has a soft, rubbery skin over almost its entire body. And when you press down on the stomach, it actually has an action where it lifts up its head too. Now let's set it down next in size. I think it's just a little bit shorter than the Stegosaurus figures. For the next quadrupedal dinosaur, we're gonna go with the Diabloceratops figure from the Dino Trackers collection. This cool dinosaur has a fiery red color over its whole body with some tan underneath. And the coolest part are these 4 gigantic horns on the front of its head. And there's an action button for the sound effects and attack button. Now let's set it down next in line, next to the Jurassic Park Triceratops figure. Look at that size difference. Looks like there's some Triceratops figures in this collection, and these are probably one of the most popular quadrupedal dinosaurs. This Triceratops figure comes in the gray coloring with a little bit of dark detailing along the top, and has 2 action buttons, one for the head and one for the tail. And let's put that right next to the Diabloceratops. This next Triceratops figure is actually one that I custom painted myself. It also has a mostly gray color with a bit of gray detailing along the top of its body, but one of my favorite parts are the red coloring along its frill and its bright green eyes too. And overall, I'm really happy with the job that I did on painting this dinosaur. And here's one more Triceratops figure for this quadrupedal collection. This one is a dark green color. It has some brown detailing along the top and an attack feature that when you press down on its back, it lifts up its head. Let's keep on going with these 4-legged dinosaurs. This next one is another new figure from the Dino Trackers series. This is the Nigersaurus, and it has mostly green coloring over its whole body and an action button on its back to swing the neck back and forth. And I think I actually got to bump this up in line because it's a little bit taller than many of these Triceratops figures. So we're gonna put it right here. Next up is another vintage figure. This is the Jurassic Park Amargospinus figure, which I believe is actually a hybrid dinosaur. This figure has some of the brightest coloring that I've seen, and it has a pretty cool feature. When you move the leg on this figure, it actually lifts up the spikes on its back, the spikes on its neck, and it opens its mouth too. And although the head of the Amargospinus is a bit taller than the Triceratops, its body is a little bit shorter, so we're gonna put it next in line. Next up is another vintage figure from Jurassic Park. This one, if I'm not mistaken, I think it was called the Chasmosaurus or something like that. It looks quite a bit like a Triceratops. It has the huge frill in the front and some horns on its head too. And like the Amargospinus we saw, if you move the leg on this figure, it lifts its head up for a similar attack action. And check it out, the sound effects still work on this super old figure. Now let's set that up next in line here. For the next figure, I think we'll go with this smaller Parasaurolophus figure. This figure is from Jurassic World Dominion, so it's a newer figure, and it has some bright blue and orange accenting on the top of its body. So let's set that down right here. And now I think it's time to open this huge Jurassic Park 93 Classic Track and Explore vehicle set. All right, now let's check out this new set. We'll first check out the car. You can open and close the doors. It has this protector for the windshield right here that you can bring down so nothing breaks the glass when you're hunting dinosaurs. It also has a turret coming out of the back of the truck. And I don't think I've seen this color design before. It's got the soft blue coloring with the yellow on the bottom, but it still has the Jurassic Park logo right on the side. And it also comes with this little lasso for hunting dinosaurs. And here is the dinosaur that comes in the set. This is the, I think it's pronounced Scutosaurus or Scutosaurus. It's a bright orange dinosaur. It looks pretty bulky. It has a huge torso. Its 2 front legs are white and the 2 back are orange like the rest of its body. And it looks like it doesn't have any action buttons, but you can adjust the neck and the head, and you can move the legs around too. So let's get all of this next in line. For the next biggest, we're gonna go with this figure from the Dino Trackers series. This is the Gigant Spinosaurus. This figure has some similar orange coloring to the figure that we just saw, and its back is a tan color. But the coolest part are these huge spikes that it's got coming out of its shoulders, and then all the spines running down to its tail. Now let's put that next in line and grab our next dinosaur. Now let's grab this big old Sarcosuchus figure. Now this is another special figure to me because I custom painted this one as well. So originally I think it came in a purple and gray coloring, but I changed it to this camo green with the brown on top and some brighter green along the bottom too. And I think it looks pretty awesome. Next, I'm gonna grab this Ankylosaurus figure right here in the blue and yellow coloring. This is a pretty large Ankylosaurus figure, and I really love the spikes that come off the sides. Plus, there is an action button on its back for swinging its tail. Now I think next I'm gonna grab this other Ankylosaurus figure. This one is actually from the first Jurassic World movie, so this one is made by Hasbro as opposed to Mattel for many of these other figures. But it has an attack that when you move its leg, it swings its tail, and it can move its head back and forth too. Now let's set that right there, and let's grab our next one, which I think could be this one right here. I believe this dinosaur is called the Styracosaurus. And this one has some pretty cool coloring right on its frill, bright yellow and orange. It's got a ton of spikes all over. And all in all, it's a pretty cool figure. Pretty similar to that one is this Dino Trackers Zuniceratops figure. It too has a large frill in the front, and it's got some horns, although not anywhere near as many. But it does have an action button on its back to lift up its head for stabbing and attacking. So let's put that next in size. Next up is another new figure. This is the Jurassic World Dominion Nasutoceratops figure. Now let's go ahead and open it up and check it out. Now this, I believe, is the juvenile version. I do have the adult version if you've checked out my other videos. And this little figure has some little horns coming out of its head and dark coloring around its body overall. And we're gonna put that right next to the Zuniceratops. Now let's grab our second to last figure. This is a baby Ankylosaurus figure with very similar coloring as the adult figure right over here. It's got the blue and the yellow underbelly. And this figure specifically is actually Ankylosaurus Bumpy. We're gonna put it right there. And for our final figure, this weird looking dinosaur is the Nothosaurus dinosaur. As you can see, its body stays really close to the ground, although it's technically standing on all four legs. It has this really long neck and a long and narrow snout with a bunch of nasty looking teeth. Now let's put that on the very end of the line as our final and smallest dinosaur. Welcome to the Amazing Dinosaurs channel. Today we are checking out a bunch of Camp Cretaceous and Jurassic World figures and putting them up on my empty shelves right over here. Got a lot of shelves to fill, so let's get started with the brand new Spinosaurus and the Snap Squads. First up is the Camp Cretaceous Extreme Chompin' Spinosaurus. Let's open this up. Alright, this is a huge figure. I have a few other Spinosauruses like this one. So the coloring's pretty realistic. It's not too crazy. It's brown on most of its body. It's got the red detailing on the spine, on the face. It's got those orange eyes. Its body is pretty adjustable. You can move the ankles, the legs, the tail, the arms. You can even adjust the neck like that, which is pretty cool. And it's got a button on the top of its head that you can use for chomping. Next up is the Camp Cretaceous Snap Squad Spinosaurus. This is a little one. You can still see that iconic spine right there. Let's open it up. As you can see, most of its limbs are pretty loose, so they actually just dangle there. And that is because you can snap this onto something and then it'll just dangle there. And just like the big Spinosaurus that we saw, this one has those dark orange eyes too. Let's check out our other Snap Squad figures. Next up is the Triceratops from the Snap Squad series. This figure is a dark red, kind of like a maroon color. It's got the yellow eyes and the yellow detailing right on the front. It's got the 3 horns, and just like the other, its legs are dangly, so that when you snap it onto something, its legs will dangle like that. And last but not least, the Snap Squad Carnivores, one of my favorite dinosaurs. Let's get this opened up. All right, here it is. This Carnivores has a lighter color than most of the Carnivores figures I have. You can see it's got a light brown and then dark brown on the top. But like all the other Carnivores I have, you can see it's got the battle damage right there on its nose. That's really cool. All right, let's put all these new figures on the shelf. Let's start with the Spinosaurus, right in the dead center of this empty shelf right here. These Spinosauruses are usually pretty hard to balance, but this one's working out. And let's snap these Snap Squad figures right next to the Spinosaurus. Gonna hang the Carnivores upside down, right on the shelf. This little Spinosaurus, I think I'll attach to the big one, right on its hand. And the Triceratops, where should we put that one? Ooh, I know. Let's hang it right on the banner right here. Ha, that's actually pretty cool. Let's fill up my shelves with the rest of these Camp Cretaceous figures. Let's start with this Ceratosaurus right here. This is gray and red mostly. You can see it's got some brown detailing on it, and it's got an action button for its jaws. That is really cool. Just put it front and center right next to the Spinosaurus. Here we've got a giant Tyrannosaurus Rex. This is like a brown-orange color. You can see it's got a button on the top to control its jaw. And you can adjust the neck just like the Spinosaurus. And you can also adjust the rest of the limbs too. Let's put this one on this right shelf, right in the center. Next up, a huge Indominus Rex with battle damage on the side. This is the battle damage that you can turn on and off with the button. That is super cool. And still, the rest of the figure is pretty adjustable. You can adjust the legs and the arms and the neck too. And there's the action button on its tail to control its face. Let's put this Indominus Rex right next to the Spinosaurus, right in the middle. There we go. Here is another T-Rex. This T-Rex, when you move the tail, it controls the head. So it looks pretty realistic. This T-Rex is brown in color as well. You can see the browner stripe right along the top of its body and a light underbelly. There we go, 2 T-Rexes side by side. Here is a slightly smaller carnivore. This is the Carnivores. And just like the Snap Squad figure that we saw earlier, you can see that battle damage right on its nose. How cool is that? And it's pretty detailed on its body. You can see there's black specks all over its mostly red body with a lighter underbelly. So let's find a place for this on the shelf. Let's go over to this side right here. Put it right next to this Velociraptor. Here's another giant Indominus Rex, but check out the coloring on this. This is totally different than the gray one that we have over there. This is a custom colored one. So it's got blue, purple, orange, and black, plus those green eyes right there. That is really cool. Let's find a spot for this on the shelf. Let's put it on the other side of the Spinosaurus. All right, there it is. This first shelf is looking pretty full already. Check this one out. This is a gray and yellow Allosaurus, I believe. Look at that action button right on its back to control its jaw. This is pretty cool. And it's a fully adjustable body as well. Let's put these right next to the T-Rexes. Here is a T-Rex with a very special feature. With this action button, you can see that it has a tearing action. That is pretty unique. Not that many figures that I have do that. So let's find a place for this right next to the Carnivores. Here is an herbivore. This is a Triceratops. It's a red maroon color with brown detailing on the top, and it's got an action button that you can press to roar. Seems like the sound effects aren't really working right now, but this is a pretty detailed figure. Looks like a little discoloration on its leg right there. Or maybe that's intentional. I actually can't tell. Let's put this on this higher up shelf right here. And we've still got a few more T-Rexes in here. This one is a battle damage, just like the Indominus Rex that we saw earlier. And press the button to turn the battle damage on and off. And this T-Rex is fully posable, so when you open its mouth, it actually stays open. You don't have to press a button. Let's put this right next to this other Terran T-Rex right here. There we go, got a little more space. Here is, I believe, another Allosaurus. This Allosaurus, though, is yellow with blue coloring all over its body. You can see that there's two different tones of blue. Got the light blue and the dark blue. Plus, the two action buttons on its back. One to control the jaw, and one to control the arms. Let's put this right next to this other Allosaurus. Alright, looking awesome. Here is a Baryonyx. This has probably one of my favorite colorings of the Baryonyx figures that I have. Two tones of green, got the dark green in the front and the bright green in the back. Got some yellow detailing and some red right next to its eyes. Let's put this right next to the Triceratops up top here. Here's a weird looking dinosaur. This is a Sarcophagus. It's got a dark purple, it's got some orange, got red, and then the rest of its body is like a blue-gray color. You can move all of its legs, and it's pretty adjustable actually, and you can move the tail to control the head. Let's put this right in between the Spinosaurus and the Indominus Rex. Oh, we've got another T-Rex right here. This T-Rex I don't think has battle damage or anything like that, so this is just a normal T-Rex. It's got the button on the top of its head for the roaring action. Let's put this T-Rex right next to the other T-Rexes. Here's an interesting looking herbivore. This is a Kentrosaurus. Check out those huge spikes right along its shoulders, as well as the spikes on its tail, just like a Stegosaurus. And this Kentrosaurus has a sliding action to swing those spikes back and forth. That is really cool. Let's put this right next to the Baryonyx up top right here. Here's another Baryonyx. This one has bright orange detailing right on the top of its head. The rest of its body is brown and a dark gray-blue color right along the top. Let's check out this action button too. Let's put it next to these T-Rexes and Carnivores right here. This dinosaur, I believe, is an Tyrannosaurus. It's pretty unique in its shape and color. Look at that bright blue right along its mouth. It's got some yellow on its spine, and it's got a light underbelly as well. Plus, this Tyrannosaurus has a slide action. All right, let's find a place for this. Let's put it right next to the Sarcophagus, right up front. Here is another herbivore. This is a Spinosaurus. You can see it looks pretty similar to the Triceratops, but the big difference is in its horns and its face. Plus, it's got an action button on the back to control its head as well. Let's put this Spinosaurus right next to the Kentrosaurus, right up top. Here's another predator. This is a medium-sized figure, and this is the Metriacanthosaurus. It's got the action button on its back to control its jaw, and the rest of its body is like a yellow-green color and darker green along the top. Let's put this right in front of these T-Rexes right over here. Here's another predator. This is an Albertosaurus. This dinosaur has an all-green body with orange detailing right along its back, all the way up to its head. And this figure has the action button on its tail to control its jaw. Next up is a Ceratosaurus with dark green coloring and black detailing along its back. And this Ceratosaurus has the slide action to open and close its jaw in multiple degrees. Let's put this Ceratosaurus right next to the other one, right here. Next up, we've got another mighty Triceratops with a brown body and 2 tones of blue. You got the dark blue in the back and the light blue in the front. And with this Triceratops, you can actually control the head with the tail. You can twist it back and forth. It's kind of hard to do with one hand, but you can control its head. Let's put this Triceratops right next to the Spinosaurus. Here's a different looking dinosaur. This is the Suchomimus. It's got a super long and narrow snout. This dinosaur is blue and yellow in color, and it has one action button that you press to control the head. Let's put this Suchomimus next to, you know what? Let's put him on this lower shelf, right next to Godzilla. Over here, we've got a small little one. This is Ankylosaurus Bumpy. And as you can see, we've actually got a full-size Ankylosaurus with the same coloring as Bumpy. Let's check both of these out. So Bumpy's pretty small, doesn't have any action buttons, but you can adjust the head and the legs and the tail as well. But the adult one has an action on it. Let's check that out. Just like many of the other figures we've seen, this Ankylosaurus has a slide action on its back. And can you guess what that does? It swings its tail around. That is really cool. Let's put these Ankylosauruses right on the shelf. Check it out, it is another Carnivores. This one is more brightly colored than the other ones that we've seen. You can see all those bumps and spikes on its back. It's got the dark brown on the top, and it's like a red-orange on the sides and a gray underbelly. Let's put this Carnivores right next to these T-Rexes right over here. This is looking pretty awesome. This is like the Carnivore shelf so far. Here we've got another Albertosaurus, but this one has battle damage. You can see it's got the stomach, it's actually pretty squishy. Then you can slide down the ribs, and they click in place, and then you can actually cover it up all the way. Let's put this Albertosaurus right next to the other one. Here's another big figure. This is a Stegosaurus with a mostly green body and some brown and tan detailing. That is really cool. Let's put this Stegosaurus next to these Ankylosauruses down here. Alright, we've got even another Allosaurus with the slide action for its jaw. This figure is a dark green color all around its body, and it's got the light tan and red detailing right along its neck, and those red eyes too. Let's put this dinosaur next to this Indominus Rex, right in the front. Here is our last medium-sized dinosaur of the bin. This is a Baryonyx, and it's got green on the belly and sides, and then 2 tones of brown. Got the light brown in the back and the dark brown in the front, and more light brown right on top of its head too. Let's put this Baryonyx right next to this Baryonyx over here. All right, that shelf is just about full. Let's go ahead and grab these Velociraptors. I got 1, 2, and 3. Check out the different coloring on these. We've got a bright red and green Velociraptor. We've got a dark gray and yellow Velociraptor. And we've also got a bright orange, yellow, and brown Velociraptor. Let's put all of these Velociraptors together on this front shelf right here. Second one right here. And the third one right here. Right next to the Atrociraptor. Got some interesting looking smaller dinosaurs. I believe this is a Protoceratops. This one is a super light green on its side and the yellow detailing all over its body. Let's put this Protoceratops right here. Next up, we've got a dark red Minmi with spikes all over its top. Let's put this dinosaur right in the front, right in front of the Spinosaurus. Over here, we've got a Zuniceratops. It's got the 2 spikes in the front, and it's got a bright green body with the dark gray-blue coloring on the top, and all in the front, too. Let's put this Zuniceratops right in front of this Triceratops right here. Check out the spikes on this Sauropelta. It's got a bright red body along the top with brown on the bottom. Let's put this Sauropelta right in front of the Indominus Rex. I believe this dinosaur is a Monolophosaurus. This dinosaur has a light brown body with gray detailing on the top and on its feet too. Let's put this dinosaur right up top here next to the Pyroraptor. Here is a winged dinosaur with battle damage on its wing. That's interesting. This, I believe, is a Pteranodon. Let's put this Pteranodon on top of the Indominus Rex. I think it'll rest there really good. Just a few more dinosaurs left. This is a Tanystropheus. This dinosaur lives in the water. And this figure has an action. When you pull down on the tail, it moves its neck up and down. Let's put this dinosaur way over here next to the Triceratops. Here is another winged dinosaur. This is a Dimorphodon. This dinosaur has a shorter snout compared to the Pteranodon, and you can see that it's got some dark red or maroon coloring right on the underside of its wings. Let's put this flying dinosaur right up top. This T-Rex right here. Next up, we've got a bright green Dracorex with gray striping along the top of its body. It's got a bunch of horns on its head. You can adjust the neck, the head, the arms, and the legs. I think you can twist the tail too. Let's put this Dracorex right next to this Minmi. Here is a Stygimoloch. This dinosaur is a orange-red color along its body with darker detailing along all of its body. It's got the light underbelly, it's got the horns on its head, and of course the super hard head for headbutting. And our last dinosaur is a Gallimimus. This dinosaur is a light tan along its body. You can see it's got some striping on the top. Plus, it's got an action button to move the legs back and forth for running. Let's put this right next to the Stygimoloch up top here. Welcome back to the Amazing Dinosaurs channel. Today we are checking out 100 Camp Cretaceous and Jurassic World figures. Let's get started with these brand new packs that I bought, starting with the Darius and Gallimimus set. Let's open it up. So this pack comes with Darius, comes with the Gallimimus, brown coloring, a little bit of yellow striping on top, comes with a baby, I think that's a baby Triceratops. Plus, it comes with a Velociraptor vocal resonator that Darius can use. That is really cool. There's a lot of pieces in this set. Next up, we've got the Kenji and Monolophosaurus set. Let's open it up. Here's Kenji.
Yippee!
Fully adjustable with all the limbs. Here is the blue scooter that Kenji can ride on. And of course, here is the Monolophosaurus. This is a darker colored Monolophosaurus. It's got some lighter detailing along the top. That's totally cool. Next up, we've got the Brooklyn and Monolophosaurus. Let's open this up.
Bingo!
All right, here is Brooklyn riding on top of the blue scooter. And here is the light brown Monolophosaurus with gray detailing on the top. Also, its feet are gray too. That's interesting. These are some pretty cool sets. I like that they have multiple pieces in them. Next up, we've got a ginormous dinosaur figure. This is the super colossal Carnivores Toro. This figure is huge. It's wider than both of the dinosaur bins back here. All over its body is super textured. You can see that there's bumps and spikes all over. This Carnivores has a feeding feature. You can put miniature dinosaurs down its throat all the way to its stomach compartment right down here. And it's got the white underbelly, red side, and the brown top. Next up, we've got the super colossal Indominus Rex. This is the same size as that Carnivores that we just saw. And it also has super spiky and bumpy texturing all over its body. And just like the Carnivores, this Indominus Rex can also eat miniature dinosaurs. So you can have a little dinosaur here, feed it down the throat, and then you can take that miniature dinosaur out of the stomach compartment. Here is a huge Mosasaurus. This dinosaur lives in the ocean, and I bet you remember this from the first Jurassic World movie. Its body's pretty rubbery, so you can actually press into it and have some give. All in all, this is a pretty cool figure. Right back here, we've got a super awesome colored Tyrannosaurus Rex with camouflage coloring. Look at that bright green on the side, and then there's brown and black all over. Plus, there is a sound effect for stomping right on its foot. That's a pretty cool built-in feature. Here we've got another T-Rex. This one is normal colored though, with light brown on the sides, dark brown on the top. Here is another custom colored T-Rex. This one is super cool and super bright. It can move just like all the other T-Rex figures that I have, but check out this coloring. It's got the brightest red on the bottom, and then it darkens all the way to the striping and the black on the top. That is so cool. Right over here, we've got a giant Indominus Rex, though it's not as big as the super colossal one. This figure has two actions. It's got a slashing action, and then it's got a roar action. Here is another Indominus Rex. Can you tell anything different about this one though? That's right, this one has battle damage on the side. How cool is that? Other than the battle damage, this Indominus Rex looks just like the one we just saw. Over here, we've got a Tyrannosaurus Rex with a tearing action. Plus, it has a tail sweep action too. This is another Tyrannosaurus Rex, but this one has battle damage on the side, just like the Indominus Rex. Way over here, we've got a Spinosaurus with a light brown side, darker brown along the top, and that bright red spine, bright red face too. Over here, way in the back, we've got another T-Rex. The color of this T-Rex is a brown orangish color on the sides with a darker brown on the top and a lighter underbelly. Over here, we've got a Carnivores, way smaller than the super colossal, but still the same coloring. It's got those dark spots on its legs and on its side. Right up top here, I believe this is a Pentaceratops. Look at that, it's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 main horns. And this Pentaceratops has two actions. First is for roaring, and the second swivels its torso around. Here we've got another orange-brown Tyrannosaurus Rex, but this one has battle damage all over its body. Check that out. You can see the slashes from where it's been hurt in battle. Here is a darker T-Rex. It's built very similarly, but it's got the dark brown on the top, and then it's got a gray-brown on the sides and a lighter underbelly. Here we've got a Mega Stegosaurus. Check out the actions on this one. Here is a dark green Triceratops with brown detailing on the top. Next up is a Cryolophosaurus. This dinosaur is dark blue with white and orange detailing all along the top. Here is our first winged dinosaur of this collection. This is a Pteranodon. It's got the dark blue underbelly and on the bottom of the wings, and a dark red and white along the top. Right over here is an Allosaurus. This one is super colorful with green, white, and red right along the neck. And it's got a slide action. Next up, we've got two matching Sarcophaguses. Both of them have the purple on the top with all those bumps and spines, and then orange and red and blue underbellies. Here is a dark blue Carcharodontosaurus with orange and brown detailing along the top. Plus, this dinosaur has an action button. Next up is another Carcharodontosaurus, but this one is a tan yellow color along its whole body, and it's got the orange and brown striping along the top. Here is a dangerous looking herbivore. This is a Kentrosaurus, and it's got some massive spikes along its body and right along its shoulders too. This dinosaur also has a slide action that twists its torso back and forth. Here is a nasty looking predator. This is a Tarbosaurus. It's got the bright red under the chin. The rest of its body is gray with darker gray striping along the top. This dinosaur is a Ceratosaurus. It's got a dark brown body with brighter orange detailing along the top and sides. It's got that orange horn right at the top. Here is another Ceratosaurus, but with different coloring. Got the light gray on the underbelly and sides with the darker detailing on the leg and the bright red along its back all the way up to its head with the white horn. This huge dinosaur is called a Pseudoceratops. Check out the horns on the front right there. Those are bigger than a Triceratops, I think. This dinosaur right over here is an Ankylosaurus. This dinosaur is super protected, as you can see from all this armor on the top, and those spikes too. This is a really cool dinosaur. This is a Baryonyx, and look at that bright reflective blue right along the top of its head. And we've got some velociraptors in here too. Let's check out a few. This first one is a bright green velociraptor that's in the sneaking pose. This next velociraptor, it's got a tan underbelly and a brown top. And this one has a slashing action. And this velociraptor is bright yellow on the side with a lighter underbelly and a brown top. And it's got battle damage. Let's see what else we can find in here. Oh, we've got some Monolophosauruses. I've got 3 of them right here, all with different coloring. This first one is a bright green color with battle damage on the side and black striping on the top. This next one is a dark green color on the bottom and the sides with bright yellow on the top and a little bit of red right on its face. And this Monolophosaurus is it's almost a pinkish color on the sides with a darker color on the top and a little bit of yellow right on the top of its face. All right, here is another Carnivores. This is a darker color than the other ones that we have. And it's still fully adjustable. And it's got an action button on its back for chomping. Here's another Stegosaurus. This is a big dinosaur, and this has a tail sweeping action too. Coming right up is another Allosaurus with gray coloring on the bottom and the sides and yellow detailing along the top. Check out that face too. Here is a weird looking dinosaur. This is a Suchomimus. It's got blue on the bottom and the sides and yellow on the top. All right, another Baryonyx. This one also has bright blue along the top of its head, but it's not reflective, so it is a bit different. Plus, it's got this slide action too. We've got a massive Triceratops in the clay red color, and it's got an action button on the top for roaring. We've got some more armored dinosaurs right here. This big one is another Ankylosaurus, and it's got a slide action on the top to swing its tail. This little red one is called a Minmi, and it's got all those spikes all along the top of its body. And this small green dinosaur is a Sauropelta, the bright green underbelly and a darker green top. And those are some massive spikes on the side right there. Check that out. Let's check out a few more raptors in here. All right, I found 4 more raptors. First is a bright green Velociraptor in the standing position. The second is Velociraptor Blue with the iconic blue stripe all the way down its body. This Velociraptor is a dark red color with purple on the sides and is in the standing position. And this final Velociraptor is blue on the sides, orange along the top, and gold right along its head. Here's a dangerous dinosaur. These both are Dilophosauruses, each with their own unique coloring. Look at those bright colors along the back of this one. Next up, we've got a few, I think these are Stygimolochs. Once again, they're both differently colored. This has a yellow-orange coloring along the top. This one is more of a green color with brown on the top and with red horns. Oh, I see another Velociraptor in here. I must have missed this one. This is like a dark brown, almost purple in the right light. And it's got some orange on the top and on its head. Here are 2 baby Brachiosauruses. One is a soft green color with dark green along the top. And the other is a dark gray color with like a purple red color on the top. Which one do you think would blend into the jungle more? This is a Protoceratops, I believe. It's got the soft green color on the side and yellow detailing along the top, all the way to the tail. Right back here, we've got a baby T-Rex. This one is bright green and has a chomping action too. Right over here, we've got 2 Gallimimuses. One is a soft tan color on the side with brown striping on the top, and it's got an action button. And the second Gallimimus is a bright orange with blue and red detailing on the top. Here's another scary looking dinosaur. This is a Herrerasaurus. It's got a blue-gray color on the sides and that white detailing along the top. Just a few more dinosaurs left in this first bin. This is a Shringosaurus. It's got a super long neck and a yellow and brown body. This next dinosaur is a Mosasaurus or Mosasaurus. I'm actually not sure how to pronounce it. This dinosaur is bright blue on the sides with the yellow underbelly and the black detailing along the top. Here we've got a dinosaur that looks kind of like a Stegosaurus, but it is a Chialingosaurus. Look at those little spikes on its shoulder. It's got all these other spikes right along its tail too. Next up is a Cosmoceratops. Look at how fancy the front of its face is. That is really cool. Here's another predator. This is a Masiakasaurus. It's got a dark red coloring along most of its body and all those yellow dots along the top of its body. And here's another Triceratops looking dinosaur, but this is actually a Styracosaurus. One bin down, one to go. Let's see what else we've got. Here is a Scorpius Rex, the dark body and 2 action buttons. This is a Stegosaurus with different coloring than the other ones we've seen. This is a light blue-green color over its whole body, and it gets darker along the top. Here's another winged dinosaur. This is a Quetzalcoatl. This is a huge dinosaur. This is an Albertosaurus with battle damage on the side. You can even move the ribs up and down. This is another Ceratosaurus. We've actually got 2 Ceratosauruses here. One is a dark green color with black detailing on the top. And the other is gray on the belly and got red and dark gray detailing on the top. This is an Ouranosaurus, and this has some pretty interesting colors on it. Most of its body is a dark green, but it's got some bright yellow, it's got some orange, and some bright blue right on the tip of its face. Here's another big dinosaur. This is a Spinosaurus. It's got a green body with tan detailing along the top and an action button for roaring. Way in the back here, we've got another predator. This is the Majungasaurus. It's got some bright coloring right along its neck and back. Here is another massive Stegosaurus with blue-gray coloring on the side and a darker gray on the top and like a pink underbelly. Here is a Triceratops. This one is brown with blue detailing right on the top. And I've actually got, I think, a few more Triceratops in here. It's a dark green one. And also a smaller Triceratops with battle damage on the side. Got some more super armored dinosaurs in the front. This is a Sauropelta. This one is red on the top and brown on the bottom. And this is an Ankylosaurus, red on the bottom and brown on the top. These dinosaurs like to headbutt. This is a Pachycephalosaurus with battle damage. I've actually got another one down here too that is purple colored and also has an action button with the tail for the headbutting. We've got a huge herbivore right here. This is a Parasaurolophus, bright yellow with brown on the sides and 2 action buttons. Here's another huge winged dinosaur. This, I believe, is another Pteranodon. It's got the orange wings on the top and the bright yellow head. This dinosaur is huge. This is a Sinoceratops. It's got a green body with light tan detailing on the top. Got a few more Herrerasauruses in here. Here's the first. It's like a light green color with some darker colors on the top. And the other Herrerasaurus is a lighter green color with brown and red. And it's got battle damage on the side too. Next up, we've got a super spiky dinosaur. This is the Miragaia. Here's a dinosaur that lives in the water. This is a Plesiosaurus. Over here, we've got a baby Ankylosaurus. This one is called Bumpy. Next up is an herbivore called the Carnivores. It's got a dark blue side and the orange detailing on the top. Here is a smaller pteranodon, and it's actually got some damage right there in its wing, as well as the battle damage right on the top of its body. This dinosaur is a protoceratops with the purple side and the yellow detailing along the top. And last of all is a good old Stygimoloch. It's got an orange-red body with darker detailing along the top and the tail action for headbutting. Want to see more dino videos? Click the subscribe button now.